Hi, Stefan.
Hello,
Hello,
nice
how
to
are
see
you?
you.
Nice to see you too. So, just checking. Yeah, we have still other people joining. So, Fatma from Tunisia also. So, hi, Fatma. So, Stefan, as we said, the idea of today is to present to our audience what's happening with this Annex 16 products, and then to verify that we can help them to understand or to guide them on the right direction there. But as a disclosure, as we said, we don't have the answers to all the questions, just in case that people think that we'll provide them all the answers. I mean, we had some funny discussion during our preparation to say that some elements are not really clear for us too. So yeah, we not say that we have all the answers. But can you maybe introduce yourself and to the audience so that we can maybe start from there?
Sure. Hello, I'm Stefan Bolleininger, CEO of Beyond Quality, a regulatory agency located in Germany. And well, I'm regulatory rascal, framework helper, process enabler. That's how I call myself. So yeah, and we have a lot of such funny things with the Annex 16 devices as well as for other medical devices that are also. But this is something which is very, very funny from my experience, from my side as a regulatory guy, because it's weird and a bit creepy.
Yeah, exactly. So so we have more people joining. So thanks for everyone. We have Muna from Luxembourg. We have Shelly from India, Ersin from Switzerland, Adam. So we had also a discussion with Adam from UK. Thanks, Adam, for being here on it. From Israel, Garazi from Spain. We have Anna from Ukraine, Letitia from Liechtenstein, and Dinesh from UK. So thanks everyone for joining. And don't forget, if you have any question or if you have maybe some answers to our questions, don't hesitate to write that on the chat. We'll look at that and we'll try to also feature you on the session. So don't hesitate to do that. To start the session, what I wanted to do is just to do some kind of, as I've said, I'm always saying, like some kind of reminder of what is the Annex 16 and what we are talking about, so that we are all set up and we really understand everything. And then we have also prepared few questions that we think maybe could be important to answer. And as I said, if you have some questions, please provide that from your side also. So just for the presentation, what I wanted to explain to you is mainly what is Annex 16 products. I mean, what the regulation says, what it is. We have also still some difficulties to scope that and to see if all the products that we have are under Annex 16 or not. But the regulation is saying this. So mainly the first category is the category of contact lenses or other items intended to be introduced into or onto the eye. So into like contact lenses to change your colors, onto, I suppose, like those glass balls that you are putting inside you. So these are, as we always say, products without any medical purpose. The objective is not a medical purpose. The objective is really aesthetic, if we can say. So this is category one. This is not extensive examples. I just provide some examples. You maybe have others that are there. But we can also say that on the common specification draft that we have reserved, there are some exclusions already inside. It says those products, for example, contact lenses with electronic elements, active elements inside, are not considered under this common specification. So there are already some exclusion also within that. Then the second category are products intended to be totally or partially introduced onto the human body through surgical invasive means for the purpose of modifying the anatomy or fixation of body parts by, with the exception of tattooing products or piercing. So here we have those implants that you are using for having a six-pack, if I can say. I was also surprised by the other implants that we see, like the skull on the end or the one on the chest. It's a funny one, but yeah, it's an implant. It's something that you are introducing inside the body. So mainly here, it's also on scope of this. But you maybe have other ones. But here we say that tattooing and piercing are not considered under this kind of category. Then we have the category 3, which are substances, combination of substances or items intended to be used for facial or other dermal or mucous membrane filling by subcutaneous, submucous, or intradermal injection or other introductions, excluding those for tattooing. So the same for tattooing. So here We had also a question: what is those kind of substances what you're talking about? And we had also a question about this rule 21 for the classification. Are we talking about that or not? Category 4, we have equipment intended to be used to reduce, remove, or destroy adipose tissue. So focus on adipose tissue, such as equipment for liposuction, lipolysis, or lipoplasty. And here we have those equipments that you are using or in a surgical center for aesthetic surgery, or in aesthetic centers where you are using that as just an aesthetic tool also. But yeah, there are questions here because in those centers, they are using some devices that can do more than what is written here. So is it included or not? And additionally to that, we have the category 5, which is high intensity electromagnetic radiation, high infrared, visible light, and ultraviolet. So emitting equipments intended for the use on the human body, including coherent and non-coherent sources, monochromatics, and broad spectrum, such as lasers and intense pulsed light equipment for skin resurfacing, tattoo, or hair removal, or other skin treatments. So here we are really talking about those kind of light, pulsed light, lasers, etc., that are used for this kind of purpose. But yeah, here are some images, like even the sun bath, if I can say, light station can be considered now as a medical device per this regulation also. And category 6, so equipments intended for brain stimulation that apply electrical current or magnetic or electromagnetic fields that penetrate the cranium to modify neuronal activities in the brain. I suppose you have those kind of things to maybe relaxation or other elements. I don't know if there is really a lot of fields on that, but you have those kind of elements when it is for non-medical purpose. We are not talking here about medical purpose. We are talking about non-medical purpose. So you have then to find what kind of other thing that can exist for these kind of categories. So Stefan, have you maybe some comments on these categories? So you have maybe some elements to say about these 6 categories. Is it enough to have those 6, or should they expand, or what's the idea here?
Well, actually, they could expand anytime if the European Commission finds it will be necessary to change them according to Article 115 and have an additional implementing commission and an implementing regulation on it. However, actually, I do not think that much of the people who try to write it will focus on additional groups, because right now we need to focus on, can we conclude with what we already have, or is there an additional set where we need to look into? And I'm pretty sure that most people, also from the regulatory side, are very hesitated to say, no, don't change it, because we don't know what to do with them, which we already have right now. Because now, with the new guidance or implementing regulation, it will be a mess.
Yeah, exactly. So we have one question here from Muna, which is asking, why do we know why tattooing is excluded?
That's a good point. Actually, from my side, no, I don't know why it is excluded. I understand that it has been more of a bigger other problems when you go to society and to other areas of the field. To say tattooing is for body modification, body changing, for a complete visual field. Actually, the devices should fulfill, from my perspective, own personal perspective, same ideas and regulations. However, I think there was the amount of changes was too high to implement them, and the risk based on the devices would be too low. But that's my understanding. It's not a proven fact.
Yeah, so for me, it could be included on the substances that we are injecting on the body, etc. So this can be one thing. There is also the syringe or the elements that we use to inject this that can be also considered. So yeah, there are this field, if I can say, was excluded, but yeah, there is maybe a good reason for them. But yeah, this is a good question. Why this is excluded? And as we said, we don't have all the answers. So maybe some people have. So here I have just an answer from maybe Jean-Luc. So he said, I believe tattoo is traditional treatment, one of the oldest in humanity, and then excluded. So I don't know.
Yeah, That's also the idea what I was thinking about. That could be the reason. It is actually established, and we don't know why we can't have that kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move just to the next maybe section, which we are talking about common specification. So I just wanted to explain to you the common specification. Why the common specification? So mainly the first reason is about there is no. Here are the three cases where you have to create common specifications. So there is no harmonized standard existing for this kind of products. Or the harmonized standards are insufficient, or there is an issue and they should be addressed for public health concerns. So these are the three criteria that are mentioned on the regulation to say that if those are available, then you have to create a common specification. And this is why an implementing act then is initiated to create this common specification. So in terms of the EU MDR, on the EU MDR Article 1, Part 2, it says the common specification for each of the groups of the products listed in Annex 16 shall address at least application of the risk management as set out in Annex 1 for the group of products in question, and when necessary, clinical evaluation regarding safety. So risk, clinical evaluation. And for the implementation, it says mainly that necessary common specification shall apply as from 6 months after the date of their entry in force, and or from the 26th of May 2021, whichever it is the latest. So mainly here we are out of the 26th of May. So now it's as soon as it's published, then you have 6 months to apply for it. And there was also, and we'll look at that just after, but there was also some interesting question on those 6 months. Because here it says 6 months, but on the common specification it says something a bit different sometimes. So it's why we will maybe look at that just after. For the draft common specification, so here is how it is built. We have the main body, which is one document where it's talking about mainly the elements of the common specification, the scope of the products, the transitional period also, and all those things. And we have the annexes that are talking specifically of the products or the group of products that we just mentioned before. We have the Annex 1, which is the general requirements for all the products in terms of scope, risks, and information to provide. And then we have for each next annexes, so Annex 2, Annex 3, Annex 4, 5, 6, 7, an annex for a specific group of products, so the contact lenses or the substances or the adipose tissue, etc., removal of adipose tissue. So this is mainly built like that. So this is the big thing. And inside, as I've said, each annexes we have the scope. So the scope means also what is excluded. We have sometimes inside elements that are excluded. We have the risk management. So what are the potential risks that can happen and that you have to include inside your risk management? And also the information for safety, which are telling you, here are the contraindications for this type of device, here are the risks, here are the warnings, here are the things that you have to write. You have to write this sentence on your instruction for use, etc. So this is, for me, I think really helpful. When I read it, I'd say, oh, it's great that it's mentioned there. It can be also surprising for the manufacturers because they will read and they will say, oh, I didn't know this is a contraindication for my products. I didn't know that I had to write, there was this kind of warning. And this is the objective also, to provide you some support on that. But there is also inside a lot of things that makes it like really difficult to implement, because you will maybe exclude a lot of your patients or a lot of your consumers. It was also one of the elements here. We talk about consumers and not about patients from this list. So do you have the same conclusion or same elements from your side, Stefan, on this?
Yeah, the annex documents are pretty helpful. However, I still struggle with it's a real document, which is a mess. The annexes itself are pretty useful, especially if you think about it's a professional use device or a layman use device, how you should write on the informations and the instructions for use. What is the basic sort of safety in there? That's pretty well done. For the other point, which, as you said, with the start, I'm not that convinced that it was a good work.
Okay. So, I mean, it's also why we are here today. The idea of today is just to introduce that to you and explain to you. And then the last point that I wanted to share is the fact that you can provide your feedback. And this is the point also of today's, you have the right to read that and to have your comments and to feel that and to tell, can you change this or can you change that, or this doesn't make sense or whatever, and to write that as a feedback here. And it's funny because you see here there was 44 feedbacks that you see on the image here, and I will just show to you now the if I can find it. I'll just show to you the website. No, sorry. Here. Just show to you the website now, and we are actually at 246 feedback. The only thing that we wanted to tell you is that a lot of those feedbacks are exactly the same. So it's not unique. Here you see here this one, for example, and this one are completely the same. At the end, it makes no sense, and there is no impact of putting exactly the same feedback on the platform. Because here it is 246. And it's interesting because you read those feedback and you see, for example, if something is really interesting here. But when you go on those 246, it appears only 77, because here we are specifically targeting unique feedback. So they have an algorithm inside. If you are copying, pasting the same feedback, it doesn't make a change. What did you say, Stefan? There is kind of a percentage of change that you have inside.
You should change at least 20% of the text to get recognized unique. So make sure you can consider it completely. Look into the phrases. It's based on an older algorithm. So what I have from experiences for other commenting the areas, so what 20% is not a given fact, but it's roundabout. So you need to change it. If you do take it as it is, copy and paste, it's just a waste of your time, because exactly. It will not be recognized and will not be taken into account. But making it a bit different, changing the context, and then writing it together, that will help you to establish a better point.
Exactly. One thing that is really important is the fact that when you write that, so you are also disclosing your information, your name, if you are UE citizen or from Spain, etc. So here, for example, a feedback from somebody in Spain. What is interesting is that you can read that also to understand more, if I can say this thing, and maybe find also some mistakes that you haven't noticed at all. Here on the statistics of the thing, you can see also for unique feedbacks again, 77, you have all the repartition of who, for example, here in blue, EU citizens, in black, it's companies, others, academic, trade union, business association, or non-EU citizen. So you have also this comparison. And here, for example, you can see that Spain and France are the ones that are providing most of the feedback, Italy, etc. You have Switzerland, which is me. Only me from Switzerland made this feedback, apparently. So Swiss people, please come and make some feedback also. But yeah, here you see that there is really active, if I can say, active actions from people to create those feedback and then to provide that to you. So don't hesitate. You have until the 11th. Here it says feedback period from the 14th of January until the 11th of February, so next week on Friday. And I know they have made a mistake also on the thing, because here I say the Commission adoption will be planned in third quarter 2021. They should have updated that, but it's not there. But mainly this is that. So if you go on this website, you got the first link here, the download, which is the main file, and here the annexes on the second file, and then you can provide all your information here. So we really encourage you to do that, because at the end, if I can say, this is something that can be really helpful for everyone to meet the requirements.
Exactly. It is so important that if you are concerned about that area, if that area is important to you, that you comment and comment and comment. It is pretty important to get feedback to the regulatory stakeholders who create it. So exactly. In that point, you have the choice to do something.
Okay, so let's now go to some questions and answers. So we have prepared some, and I see some here. I will pick them because the first one from Muna is is one of the first one that we are talking about. So Stefan, we talked yesterday about classification of Annex 16 products. And the answer, if I can say related to that, is that you have to use the same as for any medical device. So you have to go through the same rules, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, until 22 for medical devices to classify your Annex 16 products. So, and you told me that there was a big challenge and we made some examples. So can we maybe disclose that to people? What are the challenges and why this can be a problem?
Yeah. There are a few funny things. So there are a few thoughts around the topic about the classification. One is, okay, you have a medical device which is analog to your your device without a medical purpose. So these are the same two devices, technically, or analog devices, which are technically nearly equal. And now you need to ensure how to classify them. However, when you think about the device without the medical purpose, which has a different purpose, it does not have the same associated risk. And therefore, is the risk classification maybe a different one than it was for the medical device. Same happens who utilize the device. So I go, especially for my area, when I look for active medical devices, when I look into them. So I either have a device which is diagnostic, therapeutic, or nothing. So a device without medical purpose cannot be diagnostic or cannot be therapeutic, because then it would be a medical device. So go looking into the claims, and when you look back into the old draft of the guidance document for Annex 16 devices, there was a claim therapeutic devices and diagnostic devices, also active therapeutic and active diagnostic, was completely cancelled and disclosed by intent. And that's a good intent, because that's actually, you can't have it. But then you think about back into technology, and then you think, yeah, actually you would have it. So thinking around that makes it their classification pretty hard. And now giving it into the implementing regulation, you won't find any hint about classification anymore. So it's completely up to you to decide how you want to do it, and then talk with your regulatory agency. So actually now, when I look into it, for nearly maybe all active devices which fall under Annex 16, actually, from my perspective, I would first strike into a class 1, go to my regulatory body, go to my agency, my local competent authority, and ask them, is that my opinion, is that right or not? And then go to the notified body if needed. But at first, I would strike directly to the competent authority, because they can tell. All others, it's pretty open what you think about. And when you're thinking about, thank you for bringing that up as a point. When you think about the Annex 16 devices sometimes deliver some kind of, how can I tell? What's the best word? Thinking about treatment.
Yeah.
But it's not a treatment. It's not a treatment in occurrence of a medical device, because a medical device treats a patient. You don't have a patient for aesthetics. Actually, you have a customer.
So if we go, for example, to this active devices rules, the first one is for a therapeutic device. So it's not the case, for example, for, let's say, for example, the lipolysis or liposuction or whatever. So it is not therapeutic. Do we consider that therapeutic? The fact that to be aesthetically better, it's not intended to control or monitor the performance of an active device. It's not here for ionizing or a therapeutic purpose. It's not here to control, monitor, or directly influence the performance of an implantable device. So Rule 9 is not there. Is it for diagnosis or monitoring? It's not there.
It can't, because then it would be a medical device.
Exactly. Is it to emit radiation, intended to diagnose or therapeutic radiology? No. Is it a software? No. Is it an active device intended to administer or remove medicinal product, body liquid, etc.? So can we say maybe body liquid?
Ooh. Sometimes that would be possible.
If we say body liquid or other body liquid is adipose tissue like body liquid, I don't know. But yeah, I think yes, for me.
That would be one of the possible devices which Rule 12 could be applied.
Exactly.
But
and
actually,
at the end, if it doesn't do all that, then you fall under Rule 13, which is class 1 then.
Yes, and for many thinkings, that was not the intent, which I can understand. However, that is how I would interpret it from my perspective, and that is how I would interpret then my authority. I will go with that information to my authority and tell them that's what I'm doing.
Exactly. I mean, we have also the challenge about notified bodies that we cannot contact at the moment. So this is also a big one of the big points that we have here. Can notified bodies already be review Annex 16 products? So you say that, oh, it's good to have a discussion maybe with notified bodies about this classification, etc. But I have contacted some notified bodies because I have some customers under Annex 16, and they all say to me, "Oh no, we are not taking that for the moment until the common specification are published." So, how can we deal with that then?
Good point. Actually, if you approach the notified body, hey, we have an Annex 16 device, they run away as fast as they can move, because until that regulation is not applied correctly, they're out of business on that end. So, and they won't tell you because there's no clear idea. So my perspective still, walk to your competent authority and approach them with your idea. Sometimes it helps a lot to give them your intent, how you feel. When I look into that and to all that kind of devices, I had Monir yesterday, we had a little talk about that, about technology-wise, what we can do comparing with the medical and the Annex 16 device. For example, when you look into the active device, when I stay there, I have all my fun with testing about the 60601, the electrical safety testing. Yeah, but that's not applicable for devices without a medical purpose, because it deals with patients and it deals with intent of treatment or intent of diagnosis and an applied part. On that end, you don't have that for a patient who is, who does not need treatment.
But it's what we said also before. We have this common specification because the actual standard is not existing or is insufficient. So apparently this is what we have to use. So does it mean that we should not look at any other standard and use only that?
That's a very, very hard question on how to deal with the right standards, because actually that's the same as for the notified bodies. It is so individual, and actually I would try, from my perspective, to nail it down to the most common standard which are available, and that would be, for example, for the electronic devices, the 6950 or something like that, and nail it more on that end instead of dealing with the medical electrical equipment, because it's not a medical electrical equipment. And that's a big point, and that deals us back with the notified bodies. So actually, it's notified body until the regulation is available completely. They cannot do anything with the Annex 16 devices, which is a very bad point, because I also wait for the notified body for such kind of products. But then, once it is available, they need to get their own clearance how to deal with the devices and what is the minimum bar. And that is a minimum bar you will find a lot in the annexes of the guidance, and therefore in the regulation. And that annex defines specific things you need to consider. But for the rest, it's pretty open.
Yeah. So let's come back to the question here from Muna, which says, is there an impact on classification of the intended purpose general use or versus professional use? So we have also a question just after about that, because I looked at the comments from the people already that were commenting this draft, and they were talking about the fact that those devices that we are talking about, mainly they are not medical devices, or medical purpose, so they can be used by people that are not in the medical field, apparently. So I don't think that I will be authorizing a non-surgeon to implant me something that is maybe implantable, but I don't know. What do you think about the impact of classification on the fact that it's general use or professional use?
Well, it's your own choice if you want to have a cardiac implant by a non-surgeon. That's your own choice. I wouldn't do it. But yes, if it's a layman or if it's a professional user, in the cases of the Annex 16 devices, because there is no clear intent about professional level, there you have a problem, because you don't have a necessity of a professional level. However, from my perspective, impact on classification, I would say no. Impact on my documentation, I would say yes. The risks for the layman are higher than for the professional. However, classification does not take that into account.
I remember I read in Annex 5 where we talk about this adipose tissue, all those things. They are mentioning inside that this should be used only by professionals, this kind of thing. So what does mean professionals? Are we talking about surgeons, medical doctors, or whatever? But it says professionals. So it's mainly something that is also important, that also those common specifications are mentioning inside that some things. So if we say on the common specification that this should be used by only professionals, then I suppose that the manufacturers will have a lot of difficulties to sell that to maybe some aesthetic centers or things that are not, unless we consider those people as professionals also.
Yeah, but what if the non-professional uses it?
I don't know. This is the point.
Nothing.
It's mainly the point. So is it mainly for professionals? Should they be strict and say this is only for medical doctors or in a surgical center or this kind of thing, or aesthetic centers are also good?
Yes.
And this is mainly the point. As we looked before, I mean, we had also the images of those kind of let me come back here, for example, of those things here where we are having sun bath, if I can say, or nails things. So this is something that you will not find in a hospital. So
yeah. From my perspective, you can claim it in two different ways. Either you say this device is used for home, or this device is used for a professional setup. So professional setup means for me someone who gets money for it. So that's a professional setup. I don't go on qualification on that level, or the other one says, hey, that's for me.
Okay.
That would be my interpretation of it. However, that has nothing to do then with the classification end, because our Annex 8 for classification does not take into account the level of the experience of the users.
Yeah. Another question from Antonio. Hi all. What you guys do you think about laser requirements such as the melanin reader as proposed written in the Article 6? Melanin reader? What's that? I didn't maybe wait until this line here to ask myself, but yeah, it's maybe a specific thing here. But the laser requirements. This is something that is used for, I suppose, for the color of the skin. So if the skin is darker, then it's than another one, that maybe there will be more some difficulties to have the action of the laser. I suppose it's that.
Okay. Thank you for that question. I just Googled it.
Okay.
And a melanin reader is used to get the color of the skin prior to get a light treatment.
So then it parameters itself for that, or okay? So
you need to check parameters to get then the treatment. So would that be considered under the Article 16?
Is it a diagnostic before, or is it a monitoring before?
Actually, no, I do not think that this one would be applied, because of the point that when you think about it, would be then Article Annex 16.5. Well, no, not really. The light and the laser application. However, it is used during skin treatment and not prior to skin treatment. So from my perspective, I would dance around and say, no, this is not thought about in that case.
Exactly, and this is also what we identified when we were discussing about the scope here on the Annex 16 is really on some type of products, but there is some products that are a bit not too different, but a bit different, which makes them maybe excluded from there. So it's a bit like, should we include that inside or outside? And this is maybe the question here. But yeah, apparently this should be excluded from the point here. We have also here Antonio that is asking, also there's a borderline about the treatment word, which is commonly used as a device with a medical purpose. However, in the CS, they've also placed the treatment word for non-medical purpose. What would we say about that? So this is definition of treatment then. So what do we say about that? What is there? Should we which definition should we use for treatment?
Well, say this.
Because they use, for example, the definition of skin treatment on the Annex 6, where they say, this is used for skin treatment. Skin treatment means what exactly? So this is also the element that is a bit difficult to understand here.
Yeah. Treatment is taken here as an extreme broad word to tell, well, we do something with the body.
Okay.
It's not necessary. It's not because when you look into the text, you will find a point where it states, hey, products which can infrared lamps which can warm up the body are not considered a treatment. However, they are not considered a
therapeutic
according to that annex.
So not therapeutic. There is difference between treatment and therapeutic then.
Yeah, but it cannot be therapeutic because then it would be a medical purpose.
Yeah, okay.
So you lack of a perfect word between treatment, which can be everything. If I pinch you, it will be a treatment. Not a nice one, but it will be a treatment. And therapeutic, which cannot be used because that's medical already. So we wanted to broaden it up and then left it over to the authorities, notified bodies and manufacturers to decide, is it a treatment or is it my device is a device which can be used on the skin.
Yeah.
I do not claim treatment. I can say it can be used on the skin because I want to avoid the words. So that is something. Avoid treatment because they can be messed up in the wrong direction.
So the words have really a lot of values on this kind of thing to what you say. Okay, great. I mean, this is a good point to say treatment is mentioned here, but treatment is also ambiguous word, etc., which is completely great.
Exactly.
Radwa, if the core technology of the device is the same, wouldn't it be well to classify it as a medical device and another occasion aesthetic?
Yes, and a device cannot be the same. One device cannot be registered as a medical device and a non-medical device.
Yeah.
So you need to define something else. Convenience, usage, device ideas.
I mean, we have sometimes, those station devices which have multiple applicators. Yeah. One applicator which has more like a medical purpose, like a laser for doing some medical activities. Other applicators to do more some skin resurfacing or whatever through a certain methodology. Other applicators which are here to do some liposuction, lipolysis, lipoplasty or whatever. So you have some main stations with multiple things. So some will be medical devices. Some will be aesthetic. Some will not have any... Right. They will not be on focus at all for here. So how companies should manage that then?
Create,
two technical files
for each of the applied parts, a specific label on is it medical purpose or non-medical purpose, and is it for skin resurfacing or skin changing? Then it can be a non-medical device, except you have some things in it where you have indications. So it is super important that for each of the applied parts and the application parts of the device, or if it's a combined device, or if it's a to ensure that you don't have indications. First thing, if you write indications in your instructions for use, you're a medical device.
Okay.
So do get rid of the word indications because an existing device cannot have an indication.
Okay.
So that's something. What I would do go away and say, hey, for example, one of the nicest examples, I think, it's our spider veins and thread veins.
Okay.
In some countries like UK, they are medical devices. Some countries like Germany, they are non-medical devices.
So aesthetics.
Yeah, they're aesthetic. So you need to ensure what you want to do. If you say, yeah, my device is used for removing thread veins and spider veins, ensure how you want to register it in your local country. Is it an indication or not? So it's also funny because sometimes you get reimbursement, sometimes not.
Yeah, exactly. Also, yeah, you get one machine and you have the same kind of activity, but one country says we'll reimburse that because we consider that as a medical device, and other we say no, it's only for aesthetics, so we don't reimburse that. Okay, so other question from Jean-Luc, which says, how do you define intense pulse light, or how intense should be the light for the device to fall into the MDR scope? I don't know if there is on the common specification some mentions or some limits or whatever.
Well, no, there's no limitation about energy. There's the only thing that you need to think about: is it cosmetic, aesthetic, or is it non-cosmetic and it is has a medical purpose? So there is no clear avoidance, but you can think, so say, hey, I have my intense pulse light and this is used for a specific thing above or on surface, then you might get rid of Annex 16 at all. If you say, hey, my device is specific, not for hair removal, or for example, if it is used for hair removal, then you can skip it off and say, that's not my problem anymore. If you think it's a specific skin treatment, like you've seen in specific parts of the guidance of the common specification document, then you can also get rid of it. So it's clear to avoid the overall IPL section and get more into a clearer one where you say, okay, in that one you get easier access on the non-medical device. But that is,
if I decide to do that, if I can say I exclude that, so I don't have to talk with my notified body at all, but can I have some issues with my competent authority then, because they will say, no, you are a medical device and you have to go through this, etc. So it's what you said at the beginning. Should we have an early discussion with our competent authority to ask them? I mean, they are, I think, the best to answer to that.
I would always approach them. If I'm unsure, I would approach them because that's easy. In case they are not sure, then they can do their own kind of research. However, most of them try not to do that and say, okay, it's up to you how to decide what you want, and then you give your statement, and then you have it as this.
Okay. So I think we answered already to that. What is the reference or rationality to classify an indication as aesthetic, non-medical purpose or not? So I think for me, it's more the definition of medical device. You have the definition of medical device, and you have the lines saying if it's for treatment of a disease or injury or disability or physiological or pathological process, etc., or this kind of thing, then it is a medical purpose. And if it is not on this list, or conception or support of conception or cleaning of the device, etc., if it's not on this list, then I think we can maybe look at the aesthetic part. Is correct?
Yes.
You have first the definition of medical device.
Yeah.
You look at that. You have second the definition of an accessory to a medical device. Then you look at that, and then you have then the Annex 16, and then you look at that. And if this is not on any of those things, then it's not part of the EU MDR. It's not part of this regulation. But as we say, and don't forget also to look at the borderline manual. We have the medical device borderline manual. You can look at there, and there is also a list of products that you can maybe try to check if this has a medical purpose or not. So this is mainly the strategy. So there is no clear answer. You have to make some research and investigation, and it's what we are doing each time, each day, if I can say, with our customers. They come to us and say, is my product a medical device? And then we look at that and we say yes or no, or here is the reason why. So it's not an easy one. It's not an easy process here.
Right. One thing, when you think about that kind of aesthetics, and from my perspective, I came from for example, also from IPL and also high intensity electromagnetic radiation. So that would be in the common specifications and the Annex 6. And there is one important thing which I say, and that is, for the purpose of this annex, other skin treatments, so what I want to do, like different from tattoo removal and stuff, include non-medical treatments of nerves, spider veins, pigmented skin areas, and scars that are not an injury, and that's important, and in line with the in Article 2 of EU MDR. So, and then, for example, this annex applies to devices for treat acne scars, but it does not apply to devices for other acne treatment.
Yeah.
So, when you think about EU MDR, Annex 16, it would include it. However, then you pull your Annex 6 to the Annex 16 and tells you, hey, acne treatment is not part of it.
Yeah, it says excluding acne treatment. Yeah, true.
Right.
And so acne scar treatment, yeah.
It is very important to think about the specific annex for the Annex 16 devices excludes devices which could be by intent included into the guidance document, into the EU MDR articles Annex 16, and that is what you need to align with yourself.
Okay. Here is also an important one from Garazzi, which says if a medical device has primarily a therapeutic claim and has a secondary an aesthetic claim, and it is going through evaluated through the Annex 9, does it also need an additional evaluation through Annex 16? My answer is no, because Annex 16 is just a list of products, and if your product is inside this list, then it has to go through the same route as any other medical devices. So this is the same principle. So for me, it should be, if it's Annex 9, it's Annex 9 for everything.
It is a therapeutic. It's a therapeutic device. It's done.
Yeah, but it's also the point is mainly about, for example, as we said, we have maybe a certain part of the device that are going through therapeutics. Then they are maybe class 2A or class 2B or class 3, and other parts that falls under Article or Rule 13. Then it shows class 1. So the complete device is class 2A, 2B, or 3, I suppose.
Exactly.
It's the highest class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
you have your therapeutic claim already, and under that claim, you certify the full device.
Okay.
And then the Annex 16 is not relevant anymore. It's an add-on.
So just maybe from Robert, hi Robert Van Boxtel from MD Project. So regarding classification of Annex 16 products, it would be great if you can show the audience the specific requirements on classification of these products, as they are not mentioned on the part of the Article 51 and Annex 8, as you showed, or should we be more generic in Article 1 to identify that the regulation is applicable? So there is also the MDCG guidance that is helping, if I can say, for that. I mean, helping. It's not really helping. It's just saying. I mean, what does it say again? It's saying something like generic, also saying you have to apply this also for these devices, but they are not talking too much about that. So for me, this classification is not easy, if I can say, when you are under Annex 16 products, because you have too much question to ask, too much thing to do. You go to the MDCG guidance for classification, and it's providing some mention, but it's not really providing too much. As we said about the Article 1.2 that we showed just before, here it says you have to look at the risks and the clinical aspects of it.
Exactly.
But yeah, do you think, and I think I saw the question, I cannot remember what it is on the MDCG, do you think, Stefan, that there will be another maybe MDCG guidance specifically on classification of Annex 16 or support of Annex, or an MDCG on Annex 16?
When I look into the common specification, the common specification writes the MDCG stakeholders have been consulted.
For the draft common specification?
For this one, yeah.
Yeah, but does it mean they will create maybe a guidance for it? Or?
Actually, I don't think so, because why should they? They have been consulted during this one. If they want, they could add it in here. But I think that they will create some kind of addition within the classification guidance. I hope. Else, I'm still riding my train to say, okay, it's not diagnostic, it's not therapeutic. Can it do something at all? No, then it's another device for all active devices that will work out. Then we will work into class 13. Then I ride my train, go to the competent authority, tell them, this is my idea. Are you agreeing?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing you can do, actually. And it's so, well, it's such a mess because this document should give you clear advice. It does not. It does not tell you anything.
So again, if you have some feedbacks like Stefan has now, write that down, that maybe they should provide more information about classification or more information about all that, because there is a lot of question for that. I just want to come back to the question that we had. So if the notified body is involved, here is the sentence I copied directly from the draft. If the notified body is involved, it is not possible for the manufacturer to complete the conformity assessment within 6 months. For such case, transitional arrangement should be laid down. So as I said, I copied, pasted exactly the sentence. What does mean transitional arrangement should be laid down? What kind of transitional arrangement? Should I negotiate with my notified body? I mean, I don't understand this sentence. Can you help maybe?
I'm not so drunk today that I can understand the sentence also.
Okay.
So, well, it is, the point is, yes, I can understand that we will need to ensure that we will have an additional agreement to say, hey, we cannot take it that fast. We need to have more time or a different idea. But, well, doesn't that contradict the timeline of EU MDR?
Exactly.
Well,
the EU MDR takes 6 months after the application of the common specification, and they don't say with arrangement or whatever. And here it says you can arrange, but it doesn't say. I mean, do you arrange with the notified body? Because
no, you cannot arrange yet because the document is not valid. So you cannot tell them, hey, I want to do, because they say we cannot answer. So like you don't know what will be the content of the arrangement until the document is released, and then you have 6 months, and then within 6 months you can't take it on. It's most cases not possible, except you do a bit of tap dancing and say, hey, it's not my problem anymore, or you have a different understanding about classifications or how to qualify your device. Then it might be possible, but it is.
Yeah. Okay, so another one, which is about clinical data. So whereas 11 is there, so as in general, it's not possible to demonstrate equivalence between a medical device and a product without an intended medical purpose, where all available results on the clinical investigation relate to medical devices only. Clinical investigation should be performed for products without an intended medical purpose. So here, what means equivalent devices? How can I cannot demonstrate an equivalence to a product that has an equivalent medical device? Then I have to do a clinical investigation. Then, I mean, what's all that?
Okay, well, you explained a lot of by if it is there an equivalent device? Well, then I consult MDCG 2025 about equivalence, and then equivalence shall tell me, yes, my device shall have the same clinical application. No, then I don't have that. Okay, then I would need another one, which is not yet available. So I cannot have an equivalent device on it, except later on when I have my same device. And then I go to clinical investigation. Monir and I prepared the show yesterday. And then today in the morning, I went to my ethic committee and asked them, hey, I have an IPL laser for skin rejuvenation, and also for skin treatment. I want to make a clinical investigation. So looked at me and told me, are you kidding? That's aesthetic. We don't care about aesthetic. You don't get a clinical investigation.
Okay, because mainly you have to define some endpoints for this clinical investigation. So what are the endpoints of aesthetic things? I mean, is it picture before and after to say I'm looking better? Is it what are we talking about here?
Well, my ethic committee told me I can go to a psychologist and tell them, okay, it is very important that the person has now a better skin. So psychological endpoint, but not a medical endpoint. What are we telling about? So this is sorry that I go that way, but that is what my ethic committee told me. When they say, okay, we need to consider that we need to go clinical investigations. And yeah, Robert just writes it into the claim, clinical investigation contradicts non-medical purpose. Thank you. That's exactly what I mean, heads off.
So it's exactly that. I mean, we cannot claim equivalence to a device that has nearly the same technology, same thing, but there is medical purpose and we have no medical purpose. But then we have to go through clinical investigation, which is used specifically for clinical verification that clinically the product is fine. But clinically means what? I mean, you have to verify that the product has really a good treatment or good therapeutics or this and that. But there is no therapeutic here. It's like having a better skin, having a better thing, having aesthetic thing. So I can myself look at that and say, oh, it looks nice. But the person can look and say, no, it's not good. I prefer something else because it's subjective. And it's mainly the point here where how can you do some clinical investigation on something that is really subjective? But as we said, this is just a comment. Maybe they will take into account these comments and then try to make that happening there. Another question, because we are running a bit out of time here. An analogous device with a medical purpose shall be understood. So what is, because they are talking also about if it's not equivalent device, they should use an analogous device. So an analogous device. So we read this sentence yesterday, and to be honest, we read it 10 times because to be honest, it's a bit difficult. An analogous device with a medical purpose shall be understood as the same device with a medical purpose, or a medical device for which equivalence to the same device with a medical purpose has been demonstrated by the manufacturer in accordance with that. So what is an analog device then?
It's not a digital one. Sorry. Well, it is. You have a device, which is a medical device, and you have the same technology, core technology, knowledge, technology, all of that. And now you have it for cosmetic, but you have a different claim. So that would be, I have an high intensity laser for electrocautery or for ophthalmic ophthalmic use, and then I have it. Yes, but this one I can brighten up my my iris and something like that. So well, these are analog devices which are technically same and technically same intent, but have a different purpose. But well, analogous device was invented to get rid of equivalent, because it's not equivalent, because if they say it's equivalent, then they get mad with the MDCG 2025 group. So they need to ensure that they have an idea about, well, it is this device, but it's not. And then they invented analogous devices. And it's, well, find your same technology, find same intended idea in a medical purpose, then you can have it and then you can use it.
Okay, so you can use it as an analogous device.
Yes.
So you don't take the medical claims, but what do you take them to compare them? So technically, technical and biological, so not clinical then.
Yeah,
I mean,
partly. It can be, for example, same user group, same age group, and that stuff, same principles of operation, but no clinical outcome.
And this is mainly the point here. I mean, for me, they could have, I mean, what was good with equivalent devices is the fact that they place really criteria to say equivalent device is that, here is a table, fill that, make that everything is comparable, and then we are fine, you are equivalent. Analogous device is more like this sentence that says to me what is an analogous device, but it doesn't help me. I mean, I don't know how I can make this table of comparison then. If they said to me, oh, it's only technical and biological, but not clinical, then maybe it makes sense here. We say we make just the comparison between that, but not with the clinical, and then we are good. But I don't know if it's really that they were meaning, if I can say.
Yes.
Okay, so next one, are Annex 16 products authorized to be used by non-medical professional, or should they be used by only medical professionals? So we talked about that before, and it's also the comments that we have on the draft common specification, where it says those devices should be used. I mean, a lot of doctors or surgeons were commenting that, EU citizens were saying those devices should be only used by professionals and not by layman person, etc., etc. So I suppose some of them, yes, as I said, liposuction, lipolysis, lipoplasty, etc. But maybe some others, like, as we say, so like contact lenses or like some, I don't know which other, but like brain stimulation, if there is something existing, maybe these ones can be used by layman person if there is really some kind of risk that were established for them, etc. But yeah, there is also this fight, if I can say, between layman person and professionals. Can this be done? So is there any comments for this one?
Well, you need to define your user group and then select it accordingly. There's nothing which I can give you as a better idea.
Okay. Next one. So there is nothing else. Is there any more question on the things? Here, an answer from Radua. So this seems like a strategic business selling point decision rather than regulatory classification. So
yes, piece of.
Yeah,
yes.
Let's say that. Yeah.
We don't have clear advice on classification, so you need to bring up your own. If I bring up my own idea of classification, I want to bring it into the market as I want it. And then I need to, what I do, I try to get the least burdensome approach, because in the end, if that approach is faster, I can approach early. And if that does not work out, I have time to react. If I go on the higher level, and then I have a problem.
Exactly. No, I think it's good, and I hope, because we've finalized with all the questions, I hope this really helped everyone to really understand the problematic. As we said, we don't have the answers to all the questions. The point here is just to bring on the table this, to tell you that there is this common specification draft, that you can provide your feedback. So I think maybe today you got a lot of our insights, so maybe you can go and make your feedback. So please make your feedback there and try to answer, if I can say, your question, and to try to guide or influence this guidance, so it can be really working for you, because you'll have to use it. So it's not like something that will be just far away. You will have to use it. So, and we'll have to use it. So if you are a manufacturer of those kind of devices, please raise your voice and try to make everything understandable for you.
Exactly.
Remember also
comment. As long as you can. You have 7 days left. 7.
But and don't copy paste. Just make your own comment, as even if it's the same meaning. To try to make your own comment, just to maybe clarify some of the comments that were already raised. Okay, so Stefan, really thank you for this. This session will be on my YouTube channel next week, so by Tuesday or Wednesday. And then the presentation that I have made with all the slides, etc., will also be there. So don't hesitate to go there, and also to share that with all your colleagues that are really interested by this kind of session. And if you still have some question, don't hesitate. You can send me a message on LinkedIn to myself or to Stefan, and we'll be really happy to help you. Okay, so thank you everyone then. Thanks for your participation, and I wish you really a nice weekend. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, and subscribe to Monir's channel.
Yeah.